Let me start with some of the, Rishabh, your query was on diplomats, Canadian diplomats here. Yes, we have informed the Canadian government that there should be parity in strength and rank equivalence in our diplomatic presence, in mutual diplomatic presence. Their numbers here are very much higher than ours in Canada. The details of this are being worked out, but I assume there will be a reduction from the Canadian side. There was a query, I think you mentioned, let me take it in a different order. Siddhant, you had a comment on words used by Canadian Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, and then the US Ambassador, right? Yes, I do think there is a degree of prejudice here, They have made the allegations, they have taken action on them. To us, it seems or it appears that these allegations by the Government of Canada are primarily politically driven. Manish, your query was on briefing our partners, etc. Look, on this one, as I said, we have been, of course, engaged with our partners on various issues, particularly including this one. We have been discussing with them. We have conveyed our position, how we see these developments, and I think those are part of ongoing conversations, but I'm happy to share a little more if you wish to talk about it. I'll come back to that. I just thought I'll mention Manish's I'll come back to Manish because let me just make a couple of other points. I think, Sudhi, you had a query about Canada sharing any information. No, let me clarify. No specific information has been shared by Canada on this case, either then or before or after. We have, as we have said, or I think we've been made very clear, we are willing to look at any specific information. We have conveyed this to the Canadian side, made it clear to them that we are willing to look at any specific information that is provided to us. But so far, we have not received any such specific information. There was an indirect question on that. Let me also point out that from our side, very specific evidence about criminal activities by individuals based on Canadian soil has been shared with the Canadian authorities on a regular basis, but not been acted upon. So that is answer to both sides of it, I think you asked. There was a query on, I'll come back. There was a query regarding from, I think, मनीष झा, आपका प्रश्न था सिक्योरिटी पे. देखिए सिक्योरिटी के मामले पे आपने पूछा था हमारे, हाँ देखिए हमने इसलिए एडवाइजरी इशू की है और डिटेल एडवाइजरी है उनको क्या करना चाहिए. एक प्रश्न और था कि कुछ ग्रुप्स या हिंदू अलग से नहीं, एडवाइजरी सारे इंडियन नेशनल्स के लिए हम इस तरह से नहीं देखते. इंडियन नेशनल्स के लिए है, स्टूडेंट्स के लिए है, जो ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं, जो वहाँ रह रहे हैं, उनके सबके लिए एडवाइजरी है. एंड हम चाहेंगे कि वो उस एडवाइजरी को देखें और पालन करें उसका. Sahil, your query was on whether we are sending security. No, look, we have always believed that it is the host government's responsibility to provide security. If there is some places we have our own security posture also, but look, I don't want to discuss security measures in public. That's not an appropriate situation. If I could come back to what Manish, you asked about. As I said, we have ongoing conversations with friends and partners. We have made our position quite clear to them on the lines that I've outlined just now. That's why I thought I'll outline our position first, that there has been no specific information, and we're willing to look at that if provided. On the issue of a threat, Vinita, you mentioned for various things. Look, I don't know how to react to this. We obviously condemn any threat. But look, the overall, I think we should look at the larger issue. The larger issues of terrorism, and not just terrorism, but also the fact that it is being funded and supported, and we know this for some time from our western neighbor Pakistan. But the issue of safe havens and places to operate is being provided abroad, including in Canada, and that we would expect that is the main focus. The question is, do we have the political will to address terrorism, or we want to justify it and condone it? So I think that's what we would like to say. Yeah, no, as I said, one question at a time. On the issue of Measures for our security, as I think the same question was asked, I don't want to discuss publicly, but of course we take, it is under the Vienna Convention, we expect host governments to provide security and for our premises, for our diplomatic personnel. What exact specific measures, I don't want to discuss publicly. प्रणय, आपका प्रश्न था वीज़ा पे. मैं जैसे भी बताया कि हमने वीज़ा इश्यूज़ पे, लेट मी एक्चुअली नहीं बताया था मैंने, आई थॉट हमने डिस्कस किया था. आपने देखा होगा कि हमारे जो कनाडा में हाई कमीशन और कॉन्सुलेट्स हैं, उनको किस तरह के सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट्स वो फेस कर रहे हैं, उसको आप जानते हैं. इससे उनका जो सामान्य कामकाज होता है उसमें बाधा पड़ी है, उससे डिसरप्शन आई है. इसीलिए हमारी हाई कमीशन और कॉन्सुलेट्स अब टेम्पररीली वीज़ा एप्लीकेशंस नहीं प्रोवाइड कर पा रही हैं. हम इस सिचुएशन को रेगुलर बेसिस पे रिव्यू करते रहेंगे, इसकी समीक्षा होती रहेगी. पर अभी के लिए ये सिक्योरिटी सिचुएशन जो कनाडा में और कैनेडियन गवर्नमेंट की इनएक्शन से रहा है, उसके लिए हम इसको अस्थायी रूप में हम इसको वीज़ा आवेदन का जो प्रोसेस है उसमें बाधा पड़ रही है और इसीलिए हमने उसको अभी उसको स्टॉप कर रखा है. I know there'll be questions on this in English, so let me say that in English. You are aware of the security threats being faced by our High Commission and consulates in Canada. This has disrupted their normal functioning. Accordingly, our High Commission and consulates are temporarily unable to process visa applications. We will be reviewing the situation on a regular basis. That's what I wanted to respond to it on Pranay's question on visas. Megha, I think you asked on Pakistan comments. I don't even know how to quite respond to that. Pakistan, if there is the last country, I think, is talking about credibility, and I don't think anybody really takes their comments seriously at all. I think that covers it. Sahil, I had talked about security. Rajesh, yeah, look, if there is any country, if you're talking about reputational issues and reputational damage, if there's any country that needs to look at this, I think it is Canada and its growing reputation as a place, as a safe haven for terrorists, for extremists, and for organized crime. And I think that's a country that needs to worry about its international reputation. Karishma, on your query regarding parity, I think you didn't get what I'm saying. We had informed, or we have informed the Canadian government that there should be parity of strength and rank equivalence in our diplomatic presence, or mutual diplomatic presence. We think that the numbers are much higher, and those details are being worked out, and we think that hence the number there'll be reduction. So yes, I presume this is pursuant to our conversation or request. Siddhant, on the issue of Canadian visa, right? You asked that first term. Look, I don't want to get into visa requirements of foreign governments, but yes, we have seen reports and heard some things, and if there are cases where we believe that our people are not being given a fair treatment or there been discrimination, we do take these things up. But I would not like to comment on individual cases, but yes, discrimination in how visas are granted by the Canadian side is something of concern, and there have been cases in the past. But I would not like to go into individual responses. Yeshi, and I think that somebody else also asked this. Look, we had issued a press release, I think on the 19th it was, I have a copy here, where we said, yes, these allegations were raised by Prime Minister Trudeau with Prime Minister, and Prime Minister rejected them. I think that's pretty clear about it, so let me reiterate that. I think the same response, I think somebody else raised, that yes, those were raised and they were rejected. Parikshit, e-visas, yes, e-visas also are on temporary suspension. They also, because they would at some point also involve our functioning of our High Commission, our diplomats there, all categories. You said which categories? I think Parikshit, sorry, I missed you somewhere in the back. Yeah, all categories of visas are suspended. Let me explain again. The issue is not about travel to India. The question is not about travel to India. Those who have valid visas, those who have other kind of documents like OCIs are free to travel to India. But the issue is of incitement to violence, the inaction by the Canadian authorities, and a creation of an environment that disrupts the functioning of our High Commission and consulates. That's what's making us stop temporarily this issuance of visas or providing visa services. And as I said, we will be reviewing the situation on a regular basis. Amity, you raised the issue of the Canadian diplomats facing threats here. We take our obligations, the Vienna Conventions, very seriously. And if there are specific threats and things, I'm sure they are in touch with our security agencies, and we will certainly providing all security and all support to foreign diplomats in India. We would accordingly also expect that the Canadian authorities show similar sensitivity to posters threatening assassination and incitement to violence against our diplomats, attacks on our premises, or such kind of threats, and take their obligations under the Vienna Conventions a little more seriously. Kalol, PhD question on how we look at rule of law. We certainly abide by rule of law. I think if there is a doubt on that, we have in a different conversation. We would, and this leads me to the question some of you asked. We have been sharing details of fugitives from justice who have run away, who are seeking safe havens in Canada and elsewhere, to come back to India and face justice, and justice, whether it's economic fugitives or as terrorists. I think that's the way rule of law works. I don't even know what else to tell you how to handle. Easier would be if the host governments, where they're seeking safe havens, take action against such terrorists. Raza, yes, the advisory was comprehensive. There was a term called politically condoned activities, hate crimes. You said alacrity. They didn't respond with alacrity. I would go further, say they did not take it at all. It seems there is a feeling that these are part of freedom of expression, or whatever you call it, and such hate crimes are being condoned in the political environment and the political system. And certainly that is something of concern, and we have flagged it. सुनीता, आपका प्रश्न था इंडियन स्टूडेंट्स के बारे में. देखिए, इंडियन स्टूडेंट्स जो वहाँ पे हैं, हमने जैसे कहा एडवाइजरी हमने इशू किया है. हमारे हाई कमीशन, हमारे काउंसुलेट्स वहाँ चल रहे हैं, वो काम हो रही है उनमें. कोई दिक्कत हो उनसे कांटेक्ट करें, पर हमने एडवाइजरी में कहा है कि एहतियात बरतें, देखें क्या हो रहा है. ऐसे स्पेसिफिक कोई हमारे पास और एडिशनल इनपुट्स अभी नहीं है. ये प्रश्न किसी और ने भी पूछा था कि हमारे स्टूडेंट्स जो है उनको वीज़ा, हमारे वीज़ा पॉलिसी से कोई उनको फ़र्क नहीं पड़ना चाहिए, वो इंडियन सिटीजन्स हैं. और कनाडा क्या करेगी, ये कैनेडियन अथॉरिटी से आपको पूछना पड़ेगा. मैं उसके बारे में कुछ कह नहीं पाऊँ. Rishabh, your question was a follow-up to why this particular step is being taken on parity of strength and rank equivalence. Frankly, yes. The reason is that we have seen Canadian diplomatic interference in our internal affairs. This is a factor that is being taken into account for seeking parity in strength and rank equivalence. Somebody asked, I think, Krishnan, you asked about specifics of some action. Look, these are not things that are to be released publicly, so I'm not in a position to share the same. विजय लक्ष्मी जी, आपने कहा था आपने कहा था सैन फ्रांसिस्को कॉन्सुलेट में कोई अपडेट ऐसा नहीं है. आपने देखा होगा हमारे सिक्योरिटी एजेंसीज ने कोई लिस्ट निकाली है, उनका वो कोऑपरेशन चल रहा है यूएस के साथ, और हम चाहते हैं कि जो इसमें पीछे थे उनके ऊपर एक्शन लिया जाए. आई थिंक कोऑपरेशन चल रही है यूएस अथॉरिटीज़ के साथ, पर ये हमारे दायरे में नहीं आता है उतना. कोई अपडेट हो तो हमारी तरफ से हम बताएंगे आपको. मुकेश कौशिक, आपने पूछा था, आपने बड़ा ही टेढ़ा क्वेश्चन पूछा था. मैं किसी और केस के साथ कोई कंपैरिजन नहीं करना चाहता हूँ. लेट मी क्लैरिफाई. वहाँ सेफ हेवंस दे रहे हैं कनाडा में, वहाँ पे हम चाहेंगे कि उनके कैनेडियन सरकार सेफ हेवंस न दें, और जिनके अगेंस्ट ऐसे टेररिज्म के चार्जेस हैं उनके ऊपर एक्शन ले, और वहाँ आइदर उनके ऊपर वहाँ एक्शन ले या हमें यहाँ जस्टिस फेस करने के लिए यहाँ भेजे. मुझे पूछा गया था, आई थिंक somebody asked how many such cases were there. My understanding is over 20 individuals. I don't have exact number. That's for security agencies. We have sought either extradition requests or other kind of assistance related to that. So at least more than 20, maybe 25 individuals we have requested over, and not just recently. It's for many years we've been requesting, and the response has not been helpful at all. Avinash, your question was third countries, Canadian citizens applying. Yes, also will be applicable. Canadian citizens in third countries will also be subject to the same temporary visa suspensions, because at some point this comes through our High Commission, our consulates need to be involved in that process, so that's not going to happen. Amit, I think your question was Sukhdool. I think, to be fair, this is not a question that's really in our it's more of a security thing. All I can say is We have seen reports in this. Frankly, it seems that if you have so much organized crime, this violence has been there. There's a lot of violence when organized crime has such a large presence. That's all I would like to say on that. संतोष, आपका प्रश्न था ट्रिगर. पता नहीं आप क्या ट्रिगर कह रहे हैं और आप किस पर्सपेक्टिव देख रहे हैं. हमारे पर्सपेक्टिव बहुत सिंपल है. हम कह रहे हैं कि वहां पे जो एक्सट्रीमिस्ट हैं, जो टेररिस्ट हैं, जो ऑर्गेनाइज क्राइम पे इन्वॉल्व हैं, उनको हम चाहते हैं कि उस पर एक्शन लिया जाए. कैनेडियन गवर्नमेंट नहीं ले रही है. और इनका जो एलिगेशंस है उस पर मैंने जैसे कहा कि हमारे पास कोई ऐसा कोई स्पेसिफिक इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं शेयर किया है. तो उसके बाद हमने फिर एक्शन जो लेना पड़ा सब इससे रिलेटेड है कि टेररिज्म पे एक्शन नहीं हो रहा है. अदर कंट्रीज, आशीष आपका प्रश्न था अदर कंट्रीज का. अभिषेक आपका भी प्रश्न, योर थिंग वाज ऑस्ट्रेलियन साइड हैज सेड. लुक, आई थिंक सम ऑफ दिस कंट्रीज हैव मेड पब्लिक that they took up the issue with us, and I think I also said that we are in conversations with many of our partners. I don't want to say which are the countries because let them mention it. I don't want to get into which countries have been saying what, but as I said, we have ongoing conversations with our friends and partners. I have highlighted our position very clearly, and this is what we have shared with them. It's the same thing I'm telling you that we've been telling them. नीरज जी, आपका प्रश्न 5 आइज के साथ था. पता नहीं आप क्या पूछना चाहते थे, बट वही हमने उनसे भी यही कहा है कि देखिए हमारा जो पोजीशन है कि इसमें टेररिज्म का मुद्दा है, इसमें सिक्योरिटी का मुद्दा है. वहाँ पे जो एक्शंस ले रहे हैं हमारे डिप्लोमेट्स के अगेंस्ट या किसी और के अगेंस्ट, उस किस तरह से रिस्पॉन्ड करें. सानिया, योर क्वेश्चन वाज डिस्क्राइब दिस अगेन ब्रॉडली. एमफिल क्वेश्चन, मे बी नॉट PhD. I think you'd make a good assessment. I don't think we are here to assess a relationship. I think that's beyond the purview of a weekly presser. But clearly, we would expect better steps by the Canadian authorities on our very significant concerns about terrorism, about security of our diplomats, of Indian community, and overall anti-India activities that are being operated or given a safe haven in Canada. कुछ प्रश्न थे हिंदू और आई थिंक सिद्धांत, आई थिंक नो स्पुतनिक वाज अ क्वेश्चन आल्सो. देयर वाज टारगेटिंग ऑफ डिप्लोमैट्स. Also I think Nanima, your question was there. Look, I think the issue is larger. As I mentioned, this is not about individual groups or this group. I don't think that is how we are looking at it at all. I think Neville, your question was also that. I think we should look at it on a larger issue of there are elements linked to organized crime, linked to terrorists, secessionists or extremists who are operating freely. They are being politically condoned. They seem to have a free run, and we would expect that the Canadian government takes action against that. As regards the Indian origin or Indian community or Indian diaspora, look, I think they've been speaking out very clearly. We have talked about the advisory for Indian nationals, and we would hope that they feel safe. They feel that they can operate there. Sorry, the expulsion, I'll come to that. On the issue of the expulsion, yes, obviously when our diplomat is asked to leave, they communicate to us. When exactly, I'll have to check. But as I said, we were of course made aware that he had been asked to leave. But I don't have the exact timing with me. Siddhant, there was something on, somebody asked about targeting of another. Look, again, I'm very hesitant to get into individual cases. This brings me to the larger issue of our violence being incited, not just against one diplomat, but you've seen High Commissioner, our Consul Generals are on posters, their faces. I think all of that worries us. It's not about just one individual or otherwise. I think we've covered anybody. Anybody missed? Sorry. Look, as I said, we are looking at parity. Your question was, are we looking at reduction of our personnel? Look, we're looking at parity in rank and diplomatic strength. We think the Canadian numbers will probably come down, but the discussions are going on. I have no information to share at this point of any change in our diplomatic posture. Of course, if the security situation changes, I would not like to, speculate on that. I think I will stop there. I think I've spoken on the students. I will take no further. Sorry, have I missed your question, Neeraj? Yes. Regarding the issue आपने जो पूछा, देखिए अब इंडिविजुअल फॉर प्रोटोकॉल रीजंस ये जो इश्यूज मैं बताना नहीं चाहता हूँ. कैनेडियन प्रधानमंत्री जी का प्लेन में कुछ दिक्कतें थी, वो जा नहीं पाए थोड़ी देर के लिए. हमारी तरफ से हमने जो भी सपोर्ट हम दे सकते हैं हमने ऑफर किया, पर वो फाइनली उनका प्लेन ठीक होगा और वो चले गए. और बाकी issues पे मैं टिप्पणी नहीं कर पाऊंगा. Or how many people are registered? I don't have that number right now because there's a large number of Indian students, and this is a comment I would like to make overall. We would encourage students and Indian nationals abroad in all countries to register, but in Canada currently, because of the heightened security situation, we would certainly expect all of them to register. They must be doing so. I don't have an immediate update. I'll get back to you at some point. Okay, is there any non-Canada questions? Well, I think you've shut the door on that one. Yeah, somebody raised a hand first. Who was that? Okay, no, you go ahead, Abhishek. All of you guys have asked a question. Abhishek, go ahead. Non-Canada. Not Canada.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my question is regarding Republic Day invitation for the chief guest. So has India invited US President for the Republic Day parade celebration as chief guest? And also, is India planning Quad summit talks around that time?
What's talks?
Quad summit talks around that time. The month of January.
Okay. What else? Anything else? Yeah.
So, in addition to that, there are some, Meghna Dev from BD News, there are some reports that the leaders of Quad countries have also been invited for the Republic Day.
Isn't that what your question was?
Yeah, and in addition to that.
Okay. Any other hands? If not, I'll close this. Yeah, Sudhi? Yes, your microphone. No, Canada, no. I think we have closed Canada. Unless something absolutely that I missed. Yeah, okay.
So, the Indian military is holding a conclave of the chiefs of the Indo-Pacific nations.
Yes.
Can we get a confirmation as to whether the Canadian chief is going to come or not?
Okay.
Because he was supposed to come. Is there uncertainty over it?
Okay. Anybody else? Not Canada. Okay, go ahead.
This is Yeshi from the New Indian Express. I wanted to know if there's any update on that Indian child in German foster care. What is the latest on that front? Parents, I believe, had gone to Germany, but they couldn't get a glimpse of the child.
Okay. Okay, I see no further questions. I'll close with this. On the issue of the invitations, look, for the 26th January, as you're all very well aware, and I don't do crystal ball gazing, these engagements are announced at the appropriate time. We will certainly share with you information once we are in a position to do so. I'm sorry to disappoint you. On the Canadian chief for this event, my request would be to reach out to the Canadian authorities and see if they're coming. I haven't heard anything particular, one way or the other. Yeshi, on the issue of the child in Germany, yes, I think I have a slight update since you asked. You know, following our consistent efforts, German authorities did grant consular access to the child on 31st of August. The interaction with the child included elements of cultural immersion, with a view to enable the child to remain connected with Indian traditions and culture. Resource material relating to Indian festivals, customs and practices were handed over by our embassy, with the expectation that the child's caregiver would incorporate the same in her routine to enable her to remain in touch with her faith.